For our final conversation of today, please welcome the CEO of Standard International, Amber Asher, in conversation with Skift's Senior Hospitality Editor, Sean O'Neill.
That's quite a visual. It really tells a lot about the brand.
Yeah.
It's impressive. Amber, you became CEO last October, so belated congratulations.
Thank you.
What's your growth plan for the Standard as a company?
Well, first, thank you for having me.
Sure.
I'm a big fan of Skift. Really, growth for us has been a big focus for the last probably 5 years. When I started with the company almost 11 years ago, we had 4 Standard hotels, and now we are in 6 countries, which is exciting. We've bought Bunkhouse. We're growing our Perry brand. We just opened in Ibiza last week.
Wow.
And we'll be opening in Bangkok this summer. So it's been a big transformation, and our plan is really to grow and bring Standard all over the world. I mean, with Bunkhouse, our other brand, it's more kind of US focused and kind of Central America, South America, and that region. But for Standard, it's everywhere. And that's our goal, for sure. So we have a team in Asia, and we're very focused on growing the Asia. Yeah, we have 30 people in Asia, so we have a hotel next year opening in Singapore, and in Melbourne in Australia. We opened in Hua Hin just recently,
Hua Hin is Thailand?
Hua Hin is in Thailand. It's about 2.5-hour drive from Bangkok, and it's been a real success. It was definitely probably not a place that people would have expected us to go to, but we've really created a destination there for kind of our clientele in Bangkok and kind of the creative class of Bangkok to kind of go out there, and they've embraced it. So it's great to be able to do something that's so Standard, so far away from where our origins are in California and in New York.
Cool. Well, there's a lot of threads there to build on. So you mentioned Asia. So one of your backers is Gaw Capital, which is based in Southeast
Well,
Asia,
so Gaw Capital owns the Standard Highline
okay.
Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Our biggest backer is Sensiri, who is a Thai public company that they are luxury real estate developers, and they've been amazing. They invested several years ago, but their biggest investment came in kind of 2017, where they've really helped us grow our footprint through Europe, through Asia, and have really driven us on our kind of global growth platform. So we're on a mission for sure.
So what is the opportunity in Asia? And so maybe let's take a look at the consumer side. So you have, it's the Perry brand, is that how you say it?
So we have Perry.
Perry?
Right. Mm-hmm. That's a brand that we launched during COVID. And it's basically, we saw an opportunity to take what we do, which is, kind of soulful hospitality, experiential, experiences and brand, and really apply that to certain hotels that maybe wouldn't make sense for a Standard. And Standards can take quite a long time. Some are a little faster than others, but I think London might have taken us 6 years, so they can take a while. But with Perry, there were a lot of opportunities because a lot of families own hotels in Asia, and maybe they don't have the distribution or the brand or the management, and we have a team there that's managing our growth platform. So, and we have wonderful kind of investors that also have a lot of relationships in Asia, which is hugely important. So we've been able to work to take over certain properties, and now we'll be doing actually a Perry on Sukhumvit in Bangkok that will be a purpose-built Perry, which was not our original plan. But I think being able to grow in Asia and having people experience our hotels is how we're able to kind of grow our footprint as we kind of go across the globe.
So I get that on the supply side, but so for the consumer side, it's kind of a home away from home kind of brand?
Yes, yeah. It's a reliable, soulful experience. But what we try to do with all of our brands is just to build kind of the authenticity and to really get into the fabric of the community. So in Hua Hin, we actually have a Perry there, and in Khao Yai, and one will be in Bangkok. We're starting in Southeast Asia and Thailand, but we really try to connect with the local flavors, the people, the artisans, and really embrace that so that people feel like they have kind of a reliable, fun. It's not necessarily the big Standard party, but they can really connect to it's a reliable place for the new traveler, the traveler that might want to get really into, off the beaten path and really get into what the culture is and the spirit of a location. So it's probably, I would say, a lower price point than the Standard, but it's something that's, like we're saying, it's an honest, reliable comfortable place to stay.
Okay. And you mentioned Bunkhouse is another of your brands. I've tended to think of the Bunkhouse as sort of like second-tier markets, and then the standard would be first-tier markets. But then in preparing for this and looking at the map, there seems to be some
convergence, yeah. And I think when we bought Bunkhouse, we bought a 20% stake in 2014 and took the control of it in 2015. That's how we positioned it. We said Standard's gateway markets will be in, London, Milan, Paris, New York, California, whatever, and then Bunkhouse would go into places like Austin, which is the home base of Bunkhouse. We have 5 hotels in Austin for Bunkhouse, which are all doing well in their own, their different levels. But we're going into Chattanooga. We're going into Louisville. Mexico City will also be doing a Standard in Mexico City. So, we're both looking in Brooklyn right now. So, and I mean, it's our whole entire team, and then Bunkhouse has a team. There's certainly a lot of overlap, and I, overlook both teams. But I think that because a lot of the big city, people where our clientele that were coming to the Standard have moved out of the big cities, that energy and that is moving to those other locales. I mean, we saw the big boom in Austin, and everyone moved to Austin during COVID. But there are other cities like Nashville where we never necessarily thought we'd put a Standard, but we're definitely looking at a Standard there. Detroit, I'm from Michigan, so we're definitely looking at a Standard in Detroit, but there's a creative, artistic class and an interest in that, and the downtown area has become really cool again. So I think that where we thought we would just be in gateway markets, I think there is some convergence, but what we do and how we do it has some core lines that run through it, but it's still different, which is exciting because you get to be in, the bigger Standards are always generally bigger, and we have multiple food and beverage outlets and nightlife and art and fashion and music. Bunkhouse has a lot of that, but it doesn't have multiple food and beverage outlets, and it's really connected to the fabric and the programming of a community, and it really goes deeper. So we won't always be in the same places, but there definitely will be some overlap, which is fun.
That is fun. So to build on that, you alluded to sort of creative class as a psychographic you're going after. People are interested in the local spirit. So one of the themes of our conference has been that personas have changed over the past few years. Are you seeing that? Have you had to adjust your product or your marketing? You're seeing changes in behavior?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, on a lot of different levels, actually. But, Standard, at its inception, 23 years, although it constantly feels like a startup in some regards, but as we go from, different parts of the world. But, yeah, we have seen that grow. I mean, I think where we would say creative class 20 years ago, it's really also the creative class in technology, in business, in real estate, in fashion and art and music. So it's what we say is that, what we say is that we're kind of, everyone is welcome. We're not for everyone, but everyone is welcome. And I think that has been our theme. And we try to, in all of our Standard projects, really allow for this kind of high and low, whether we have the boom room.
Bunkhouse on the screen behind you.
Well, this is Bunkhouse behind us, San Jose, but we have, boom room and the beer garden in the same place. We have at, where we, in Standard Highline, when we have like La Band, which is a nightclub. We have the Standard Grill. We have room types that are different, that speak to different clientele, because we love to create that environment where we can have a wide variety of people that are all there for the similar purpose, to have fun, to interact with each other, but they may be coming from different perspectives. So, yeah.
Cool. So I want to remind people, someone in the audience mentioned that we should encourage people to ask questions. So you can ask questions in the app, and we'll get to them. So Amber, I guess I'm wondering, when you think about some of the generic big brands, the Marriotts, the Accors of the world, they may look in an unsophisticated way at the Standard and say, oh, so what are their key ingredients? It's funky furniture, it's good food and beverage, it's a good Instagram game. We've got all this marketing and capital and firepower and distribution that we could throw at it. Why don't we just create some soft brands? And what is your competitive moat? How is it that you are able to cut out this white space for yourselves?
For us, it's authenticity. For us, it's what we've been doing the whole time. Mm-hmm. The big brands are doing that. I mean, absolutely, and I understand why. Lifestyle is fun, it's exciting, it's sexy, it's all of those things, but that's what we've been doing the entire time. So we've been building our hotels and our brand for that clientele and for the people that will really appreciate that. So, I think that the way we approached it, and it's challenging because we are going all over the world at the same time. So it has been a challenge, but it's really to get on the ground, to really, as we do these hotels, whether it's in Bangkok or Hua Hin or Lisbon we're going to, and Brussels, is to really put a team on the ground to really to immerse themselves in the areas that we do find important, whether it's art, fashion, music, meet the local DJ, meet the local artisan, or the fashion designer that's gonna help us do our uniforms in London. We worked with amazing fashion designer Craig Green, or the artist that did the tiles behind our, the entryway, or in Ibiza that we just opened last week, we had worked with an amazing artist from Madrid, and we've really scoured the area to understand who are the local DJs, and not just kind of take our brand and say, oh, we're gonna go to this place and you're gonna just love this New York or California version of Standard. We really kind of get in with whether it's local designers, chefs, musicians, and really understand it. We spend a lot of time, we've moved people to different places to really, to be part of the community, because for us, success is that the community comes back over and over again to our venues. And we saw it during COVID when the whole world was shutting down in New York, and all of a sudden, New Yorkers couldn't travel, but our restaurants were busy, and our hotel was busy with staycations, because we've always catered to the communities around where we build our hotels. And we've done things like Easter petting zoos that are open to the community, or ice skating rinks, or picks on the plaza, because we want the local community to feel at home in our spaces as much as the traveler that's checking out New York for the first time.
So how do you balance that, catering to the locals, bringing the locals in, but then also having a sense of exclusivity? Because we heard earlier from Selena, which is an emerging hospitality brand, they said about a third of their revenue is non-guest revenue. A lot of that is the food and beverage, non-guests coming in for food and beverage. What kind of ratio do you sort of try to aspire to get that?
Honestly, our food and well, first of all, in our various hotels for the Standard, at Highline, the food and beverage was at one point $55 million a year. It was 55% of the of the revenue. So we actually look at probably 90% of our food and beverage. It depends on in Maldives, they're pretty much 100%. They're stuck on the island. So, but in New York, 90% of the food and beverage clientele are just in the local community. So it's, the hotel guests aren't necessarily going to Leban. Some are going to Leban, but a lot of it is the locals. East Village, the same thing. We build for the community, and then we also understand that our guests will appreciate it too.
How do you balance that sense of exclusivity? One of my colleagues was making the joke when we were having our London event, they just were curious about the Ritz-Carlton, they walked into the lobby, they weren't a guest, and they sort of escorted them right back out, partly because of security, partly for a sense of exclusivity. Probably they should have gotten a better sport coat. So how do you sort of balance that with getting the right vibe of people?
I wouldn't say, besides, let's say, the Boom Boom Room, or maybe there's an outlet, like we just opened a cocktail bar called Sweeties in London, and there is a level of not everyone's going to get into because we have capacity issues and things like that. Leban has a line down the street, but come in our lobby, sit on our plaza. Everybody's welcome. We also try to provide something for everyone. The person going to the beer garden is not likely going to Leban. Maybe they are, and great if they are, but we have something for everyone. So, for us, exclusivity, there's place for it, but I think the world has changed a lot since the Standard opened, and I think that we really want to bring in, everyone's welcome. It really is true. Maybe not at Boom Boom Room once in a while, and maybe you can't get into Leban or things as we are opening across the world, but come to the lobby, come to the, sit in the living room, sit on the plaza. We're opening, as soon as our scaffolding comes down, we'll be putting in a roller rink, and then we'll turn into an ice rink. So these are the things we want. We want people to come. So I would say our brand might feel, when you watch the video, if you watch the whole video too, it feels exclusive, and but if you look at the people that are creating the brand, we want everyone to be a part of it.
So how does that affect your hiring? Because there's a particular conception for decades about how to hire for a hotel, and it sounds like for some of your goals, you'd have a different kind of person or process.
Yeah, we don't always hire people that have come from hotels. In fact, I think but maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, I remember we were looking at opening London. I looked around the table and I'm like, has anyone here actually opened a hotel? And we've come a long way since then as we're going global. But we have people that have come from fashion design or PR or music and so many different things. Now we've kind of balanced of both of that, both of those things. I mean, we were able and we were lucky to keep a lot of our team during COVID, and we really tried hard. We had great support to do that. But we did have some key positions to hire when COVID was over, and or it's not over, or when COVID was, kind of, we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And one of the things we've really tried to do too is just to look at, hiring diverse candidates and things like that, or more, females in higher positions, because there really aren't that many. And I really struggled to fill those roles with that, even using recruiters and saying, this is the mission, let's give me, a mixture of different kinds of people and diversity. And so what I've determined is that we need to just develop from within. Mm-hmm. And so what we've been doing is we spent a lot of time during COVID. I worked with, because we were opening and closing. We closed all of our hotels, so as many people did. So I had to kind of change the momentum of that discussion into our own looking inside and growing with our team and really focusing. So across the world, we were doing Zooms with an executive trainer and people to just really look inside and to work with individuals. But as part of that, some of our team members, I look and I say, you've been here 10 years, 12 years, what is your future? What's your growth? So we're paying for some people's MBAs, or you want to get into project management, or you want to learn how to do Excel, or what are the things you want to do and develop the team so that we can bring up those leaders. And it has been a big focus because the industry has changed. A lot of the younger people left the cities or left hospitality, left the restaurant. A lot of our business is food and beverage. And then you also had women who have left the workforce. And it's been a challenge. And so for us, let's build those teams. Let's do those, trainings. Let's recruit people. But then once we have them, let's take care of them and let's help them move up through our business. So, but it doesn't necessarily, they don't have to be in hospitality. We need some people that have come from hospitality, but not everyone has to come from hospitality.
I think that's a lesson for other hospitality leaders who are listening to this about coaching development internally and the importance of putting structure around that so it actually happens, and also balancing, it's not just all the classic hospitality role that you're looking for. One theme that bubbled up earlier was sort of a debate, like there's a lot of market uneasiness, there's talk about inflation, there's talk about rising interest rates, is there going to be a recession, is there not, different markets around the world. Do you have to recalibrate anything in your growth strategy?
Right now, yes, I would say, I was talking to our development team that I run and saying, you know what, new builds, construction loans are going to be a little hard to get. So let's look more at conversions and things like that. But I would say that a lot of our hotels take a while anyway, and we work with individual owners, we work with all kinds of different owners. So, we haven't really shifted our strategy. I will say we are looking at buying assets now and really growing our US platform. We've done a good job of growing our international platform, but we've did a lot of focus on that, and now I think we're moving a little bit more internally to say what else in the US are we doing. But I think, for us, we've been on a path. We closed 12 deals during COVID across our brands, and we're starting to see, I'm excited to see these open as we develop them and really bring them to life. But we haven't really shifted yet. Right now, we're just on a mission. Okay.
We have an audience question from Melanie. How is Standard International maintaining guest retention and affinity across your new brands?
So Bunkhouse Bunkhouse and Standard have very different, clientele. Some people will appreciate both of them, but I think we do it with programs like, we don't have a point system and we don't have those types of, systems that keep people coming back. But what we do have are our internal GEM program, for instance, at the Standard, where Bunkhouse is even a different model, but where we have these guest experience managers who know our guests, who have researched our guests, who have relationships with our guests, who know them by name. They come back over and over again. So we actually have a very good kind of retention of our guests in the 30%, but we also have a lot of direct bookings, which I think, even though we're not a kind of Marriott of the world, we have during COVID, it was about 60% direct bookings, which is great because people.
60%, great.
Yeah.
Really great. It's better than Marriott.
When we launched our app One Night Standard years ago, we're actually bringing it back, but we saw that people sometimes they just want to be at the Standard, and we need to have more of them for that, but they come back over and over again. So, for us, it hasn't been an issue. I think we just try to keep doing every day what we're doing and being true to the brand, to our guests, to ourselves, and just being authentic. And that has brought people back and having fun in the process.
One more question, since this is so much about the blending of hospitality. Will we ever see Standard branded short-term rentals in the future, or could you see value in expanding to those type of properties?
We looked at that when I was general counsel for Andre Balazs, is how I started with Standard, and we looked at that years ago, Standard everywhere. And, I think it was actually probably pre-really Airbnb, all of those things happening. And it definitely could be a path. It's not right now in our direct focus, but I could see it. I've seen a deal formulated to look like that, and I could definitely see it. But right now, I think we're really just focusing on both. Well, we have branded residences also, so that's something we launched during COVID in Miami, and Lisbon will be our second one. So I see us doing that more in the branded residence model, where we can bring a lot of our kind of curation, our programming, the unique design elements that are Standard, that because we are about community, and that is what we do. And I think for us to have standalone residences, we'd lose some of that magic that make people come to the Standard. So I'm not saying never, because who knows, but not at the moment.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Amber. Branded Residences, way to go. Really appreciated you talking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.